All right, real quick, I'm going to walk you through some of the muscles that are found on our thin man here. I'm not going to walk through them all. Essentially, we know most of the muscles from other parts of the body, other models we've seen before. So I'm going to kind of focus on some of these that are visible that aren't visible on the other models or aren't as nicely visible on the other models. So right away, talk about a couple things in the face. What we haven't seen so far in a model is this muscle here, which is on the side of our skull, our temporal region, which we know is the temporalis muscle, and then a very important muscle associated with chewing, okay, along with our masseter shown there. Front of the masseter or anterior of the masseter is the very visible buccinator. Buccinator, as I mentioned in another video, important muscle associated with kissing. Okay. We have the two zygomaticus muscles, which aren't labeled for whatever reason. The one I'm pointing to right now is the zygomaticus minor, and then the one inferior to that is the zygomaticus major. Okay. We can see the orbicularis oris very visibly in the model that we have. It's kind of small, so you can see it pretty well here in this model. Kind of take a step back and move down into the chest. What we've seen before in other models is the very visible pectoralis major. What we have not been able to see is the pectoralis minor, which is what number 13 is showing, because the pectoralis minor is steep to that pec major. So we've essentially removed the pec major here to show the pec minor, which also gives us an opportunity to see the intercostal muscles. Okay. Remember, the internal intercostals are going to be closest to the sternum. So 14 here, those are internal intercostals. 15 are external intercostal muscles. Okay. As I move down here into the chest and into the abdomen, we can see nicely here the serratus anterior muscles, which we've seen in other models before. Okay. Down into the abs, once again, we have visible the very nice rectus sheath covering the rectus abdominis. Okay. On the right side of this individual, we can see the external oblique. So that's very, very visible. What we see over here on their left side is that the external oblique has been cut away so that we can see what number 19 is pointing to, which is the internal oblique. And we can also see the transverse abdominis, which is the muscle that runs underneath of our rectus abdominis. Notice that the fibers with the rectus abdominis run vertically, whereas the transverse, they all run horizontally. And remember, the word transverse always is going to mean across the body. Down here towards the groin, we can see these two kind of openings. Number 30, those represent the inguinal canals, which are associated in men with some muscles that attach to the testes, as well as the vas deferens, which is what carries the sperm from the testes back into the body. So these are actually holes that connect some reproductive structures with the abdominal pelvic cavity. Okay. Moving down into the thigh, on the individual's right leg, we're kind of looking at a superficial view of the quads. We talked about how the rectus femoris muscle is a superficial muscle versus how the vastus intermedius is a deep muscle. As we can see, the rectus femoris has been cut away so that we can see deep to it the vastus intermedius. Okay. Other than that, we're all pretty much the same. If we kind of look down in the leg, we're looking mostly from an anterior view. The right leg is pretty much covered with vasculature, so it's not as easy to kind of pinpoint. We can see the gastroc very well, the gastrocnemius. Talked about how the soleus is deep to it. Soleus is number 181 down here, gastroc being 180, and then nicely visible 182 is the tibialis anterior muscle. So pretty straightforward as far as everything else goes. Just wanted to kind of touch on some of those things that are visible here that aren't in other videos. All right, thank you.